Alright, so this is the first time I've actually put it out there. Let's see what happens with these transitions and the music levels, and we'll see what happens at these levels right there. That should be a pretty good level for chatting, talking. And we'll get that up there. So basically this will be my first stream, and it's kind of a unique situation. My son was supposed to be doing this with me. He took his own life October 1st, and when that happened I was completely caught off guard, no warning. Freaked out, lost my shit for about 2 solid weeks. But then my wife went back to work, and that was her form of therapy. She wanted to go back to work, and so I was basically left here at my house with time on my hands and absolutely no idea on how I was going to get through even another breath sometime. So I started to reach out. I found several resources that were helpful. I found the best help for me immediately was a friend of ours had gone through a similar situation, and talking with him as someone who understood exactly how I was feeling was very helpful. Very therapeutic. Found another person, unbeknownst to me, who had gone. And so I reached out to him, we sat down, we talked, and that was very helpful. My wife went back to work. I was left here all by myself. I had called everybody I could call, had reached out to everybody I could reach, and I was awesome. So I Googled grief, and I think it was grief and loss. Anyway, Google search brought me up to a Reddit post that somebody had put up, a little subreddit called Suicide Bereavement. So I never used Reddit before. I jumped on there and decided to check it out. And I found people writing posts regarding their own experiences with this particular situation, suicide and also loss. This one subreddit was devoted specifically to suicide bereavement, being torn apart by suicide. And I got my first real tips from there, my first hope, my first thoughts that I might just be able to make it through. I might just be able to breathe again. So I read all the posts I could find on there, and then I put my own post on there, and got a lot of responses. Somebody mentioned a Facebook group. So I applied for acceptance into a group on Facebook. A couple thousand people in this group are all survivors of suicide. Instantly, almost instantly, very quickly, I was accepted into that group and started getting posts and tips and advice and just warm hugs. Mainly mothers who had suffered. And that was great. I found another suicide Facebook, and it was for fathers. And the advice between the two was obviously quite different. Mothers would like to hug you and cry with you, and the fathers are basically saying, better get used to this, it's going to be life, and crying about it's not really going to help. So one day I would make a post and I would put it on one group, and then I would put it in the other group, and I would just get feedback days when I felt like I wasn't going to be able to breathe another second. And I would catch their advice and everything, and it helped. Without Reddit, without that Facebook resource, I don't know what I would have done. I hit rock bottom. I went as depressed as I believed anybody could be in this world, just staring at a wall. And I had tunnel vision. The only thing I could see was my pain. That I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my daughter. I didn't care about my family. I didn't care about my mother. All I could think about was my pain and how much I wanted it to end. So it was a very scary moment and a very deep realization that things can go bad to worse. That was almost 4 months ago. Since then, I've stood back up on my feet and I've started learning how to take baby steps back out into the world as it was before. And so one of my methods for dealing with this is this: firing up the stream that the son and I were supposed to do together this coming summer. Last winter, this Christmas, we were supposed to get another computer. We were going to upgrade our internet. We were going to start gaming together. We were going to learn how to edit the footage on YouTube, make videos, have fun. And yeah, that's not going to be happening anymore. Decided to leave us for some reason, which it's hard to say. There's obviously, it's a way too complex of a subject to explain. But I thought to myself, I'll do it in his honor. I'll game the games that I like, and I'll create the videos that I want to create, that we should have created together. But I'd also like to make this a channel that anybody who's ever lost somebody, whether it be natural causes, whether it be an acquaintance or a child or a loved one of any sort, can come to and just hopefully we can all talk about what we do now to breathe, to be able to stand back up, to be able to move forward again. I'd really like this channel to be full of resources. I'll post links in the description about various resources for mental health, various resources for suicide prevention, various resources for grieving. I'd like to primarily focus on grieving people who've already lost something. I couldn't help my son. I didn't know there was a problem. So mental health is obviously not something that I'm well versed in or can speak with any sort of intelligence about. Obviously, I'll be educating myself for the rest of my life, trying to gain some understanding of what exactly happened and what happened to my family. But that's probably for another channel and probably for a different platform. Really not qualified to take people who are on the brink or completely lost and give them any guidance. All I can really do here is talk about the things that have happened to me, talk about the things that I've found, talk about the people that I've talked to personally. That's the only things I'll be able to speak with any sort of concrete, any sort of certainty. I do care about everybody, and I don't want this to ever happen to some other family. And so our conversations will probably delve down into suicide prevention, preparing yourself just for plain old grieving and what that means. Mortality kind of snuck up on me. The very word mortality wasn't even really in my lexicon when this happened. That is now. I have an understanding of what that means. I have an understanding of how important relationships are. I think one of the number one things I could walk away having learned from this is this fact. This may be the last time I talk to you. This may be the last time I get to talk to you. Either one of us could be gone at any time, and there's really no way of telling when that's going to be. So it really lends an air of gravitas to every conversation that I have now. And I look and I search for other platforms and other forums to talk about this sort of thing, and can't find one. So I thought I'd create one. See how it goes. Hopefully attract people who have perhaps lost a friend and just need some advice on how to breathe again, what to do, where to look, where you can find support, where you can find help. I'm in therapy. I've got a therapist now, never had one before. I'm also taking Xanax every now and then. I'm on Zoloft. So as far as the difference between scientific or science, Eastern medicine, Western medicine sort of thing, I'm on the fence on that. I believe that chemicals in your brain are depleted from grief and loss and sorrow and stress, and they can be replenished by our own bodies, by our own meditation and our own mind, but only to a certain point. Post-traumatic stress disorder overloads the brain for extended periods of time, and those chemicals can't regenerate and can't catch back up. Again, I'm not a scientist. Okay? I'm just getting into this subject matter. So, of course, if anybody ever has more information on it, I've got my chat up. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Sorry that you're here and that this has any sort of bearing on your life, but nothing we can do about that now, is there? We can try to go out of our way to help others around us, show a little compassion, add more meaning to the relationships that we do have by speaking about things that are from the heart, that deal with the heart and the spirit and mind, versus politics. Not really into getting into political debates, as well as religion. I can talk about spirituality in general, but when somebody starts equating my words or my ideas to a specific religion, the exclusion of all others, I can't do that. That's my firm belief that none of us have the truth. We all have keys to the truth. We all have our own individual truths. Doesn't make any of us right, doesn't make any of us wrong. I'd like this to be an open forum where we can talk about the differences or what they have in common. I think would be a better topic for discussion. Talking about religion and talking about how this religion says this or that religion that, therefore wrong. It's not something to get into. I'll probably create a Discord channel for people who want to get off the stream. We'll play it by ear. How's that sound? We'll figure out whether we want to dive into that sort of thing, and we can just play it by ear. As far as gaming goes, I play DayZ, I play City Skylines, I play Kerbal Space Program. Those are the three games over all my years that I found that really challenged me. A little bit more intellectually for the latter two. The first one's just a run and gun through an open forest, still in development, as anybody who's ever played it knows. But we can talk about any of those games. We can talk about other cool games. We could talk about how to stream. This is my first legit stream. I've been testing my microphone, I've been getting the camera set up, learning how to work OBS Studios, trying to find some music that doesn't require usage right, copyright infringement, things to worry about. Probably going to set up a Spotify account to get some sort of playlist together. And in the meantime, my plan is to, on Wednesdays or Thursdays, just chat. Just have people into the chat that come in, they talk, they get questions, we can share stories, and shoot the shit, talk about whatever you like. And we can focus on grief, and we can focus on loss, and we can focus on recovering ourselves, us, that the individuals that we are, from the aftermath of this whole train wreck that life decided to throw in our path. The other days when I'm streaming my games, I'll probably be less likely to focus on that as a subject, but I can't guarantee that I won't. Anybody who's ever gone through loss of a loved one through a suicide, or whether it just be natural causes or a tragic accident, will understand that it's not something you can turn off. It's not something you get over. It's a process that you work through, and it is a continuous journey that I believe really has no end. Since I'm talking about it so much, I figured it might not be such a bad idea to open up a platform where other people who have questions about it, or want to talk about it, or have any interest in it at all, can come and not be judged. Actually find someone who's gone through it to talk to, someone who can relate. Obviously, in this world, there are people with worse stories than mine. Tragic tales that make mine look just easy. I can't relate to the worst. I can't figure out, I won't be able to help these people at all. But they might be able to help me. They might be able to help you if you go through sudden, unexpected loss and you need some advice. It's probably gonna be a lot of crying, not to tell you the truth, and a lot of unprofessionalism on my editing, but we'll try and get it all squared away so that it's a smoother stream. We'll try and figure out a way to make it so that anybody who wants to lurk and take advice or just watch is fine. Anybody that wants to chat, I'll always be open to talking about it. It's the only thing I want to do. It's the only thing that really helps me feel like I'm close to my son, when I'm talking to someone about his life and my life after him, my life with him. Doing this gaming, sitting down at his desk and his computer and his monitors, all the things that I set up and helped him set up last Christmas that was supposed to give us hours of father-son time, it's not going to be. So I'll make use of it, and I'll think about him. I got a picture of him right there. And if it helps even one person out there get through a hard time, then it's completely worth it. I would have been sitting at my computer playing a game and probably just dying inside over the fact that he's not with us anymore. But I figured it would probably be better if I just click a button, turn on the camera and play my games, and if anybody needs to chat or anybody needs to talk, then we can do that. I would have welcomed this sort of a resource had I known it was available when this happened to me 4 months ago. So I'm going to make it available for anybody else that finds themselves in this situation. Just vent, get a little sympathy, get a little empathy, get a little advice, maybe learn some tricks on how to breathe. And I believe in my heart that the first key to the whole entire thing is learning how to breathe again. There's a whole long story around that that I could get into. Basically, it started with going back to work. I got a partner, he took care of everything for me for just as long as I needed. He's a hell of a guy. But then he went on vacation with his family, much deserved and planned far, far in advance. And I'd been, like I said, laying on my couch in my living room, crying rivers for 10 weeks, about 10 weeks straight. Every day, almost all day, zombie, with absolutely no clue or hope. There was just nothing. I was a complete wreck. I couldn't understand what exactly had even happened. I still find myself a little unable to believe that this is the world that I live in now, but it is. When I went back to work for the first day, I was a wreck. I was there for 3 hours and then I left. They don't need me there per se to watch over anybody, and it's runs itself okay. And I left early that day. That night I looked for resources for falling asleep. I found a video on YouTube. Well, I believe the keywords I searched for were sleep and anxiety. I was directed to a video by a guy named Michael Seeley that had like 5 million views on it, and it was anxiety or self-hypnosis for anxiety reduction. And I gave it a shot, and for the first night in weeks, I closed my eyes while I was in bed, and I started breathing slower, and I started breathing deeper, and I kept breathing slower, and I kept breathing deeper. Well, my mind was racing 1,000,000 miles an hour, so there was no sleeping. It was just me sitting there trying to figure out how to breathe. Once I realized how to breathe, I realized that I was calming down. And after another 10 or 15 minutes, I fell asleep. Well, the next morning when I woke up, I wasn't wound tight. I was kind of in neutral, coasting. And it didn't take very long to get all wound up again, and that day was equally as hard. The next day was equally as hard. The next day was hard. But slowly over time, I was listening to this video every single night. And as it progressed, I started to realize that the life that I have and the life that each of us has is such an amazing, precious, wonderful thing. It's truly amazing in that we can take a human soul or a human spirit or just us, our individual selves, and we can look around us in the world and we can think, this I don't like, that I don't like, this was different, that was different, that was different. And we take all these environmental factors and all these stresses and we internalize them. Hey Alerpo, how you doing, man? Do you want me to start over, or where'd you catch me? We can take all these stresses from our life and we can turn it into stress, on our stomachs, and in our stomachs we have the ability as humans to create this stress. These videos